Okay guys, so in this part of the tutorial we're now going to make it so that when we push enter again that we can get rid of the text. So what we need to do is make a variable here and call it game paused equals 0. Now we could use the freeze mode, which freezes the whole engine, and it does have its perks, but I find that there also are some downsides to it. So I've circumvented it, I think that would be the right word, and done my own system. So what I do is I just make a variable and say that if the game is paused, then it's set to 1, and if the game is not paused, then it's set to 0. Therefore making it so that everything else that needs to run while the game is paused can run, such as particles. Because I'm pretty sure that if you set the freeze mode to 2 and you have particles, that the particles will stop until you unpause or set the freeze mode back to 0. So if you have a menu that shows your world, it's just like a little faded screen, and there's a whole bunch of fire around you, and you pause, all of a sudden your fire is going to disappear, and then when you unpause it's going to rebuild. So it wouldn't look very good. So anyway, so I ended up doing it this way for that reason, in case anyone was wondering. But you're welcome to do it any other way you like. So what I like to do is right here say that if game paused equals 1, or even better, while game pause equal to 1, then we can make it one line, wait 1. So this way, as soon as the game is set to as soon as the game is paused, so will the player be. Right, so that puts them in this loop. So if you wanted, you could have some basic commands for the player while the game is paused. So now that we have the player paused, when that happens, we can now say that when you push enter, that game paused equals 1, which will pause the game, show the text, and then while key enter equals 1. So because it's going to happen sorry, it's going to happen so quickly after you push enter, all of this text here, or sorry, all this code here, it's going to happen so quickly it's going to jump right down to this line, like before you can even think it's going to happen. So we have to do a check that while you're still pushing enter to wait, and then while you're not pushing enter to wait, because that means that if you do push enter, then it's going to break out of this loop. And then we're going to set this to 0, which is going to unpause the game, and we're just going to set this off by setting it to reset. And the reason why we're just turning it off is because if we have two papers in our room, so if we have this paper beside another paper, so if we go like this, second paper, this is the second paper, and that's all you really need to change. Now, I mean, ultimately, if you didn't want to do it this way, you could put your strings all at the top here and have a whole list of strings, but I find it a little bit better maybe organized if you just do it this way, because no matter what, you're going to have these actions unless you set it up differently. But with the way we have it set up, we're going to be using multiple actions per paper or per note. So like either you could make another string up here, oops, not a string, just string, and test equals that, and then down here you would just write test. And it's ultimately the same thing. Oops. There shouldn't be an asterisk here. So ultimately, we're going to get the same thing. And one more thing, I believe that needs to be there in order to complete the, there we go. So it's paused, and now it's unpaused. Paused, and unpaused. So there we go. Now we can have it paused while we're doing that, so make sure we fix that down here as well. We're going to go over here, bring this one to this side of the table, bring this one to this side of the table. Oops, first we need to set this one to the second paper, and actually, I'll show you something too. To keep it organized, you can say paper second, paper first, oops, and then you just go down to your paper section and look for the paper first. Doesn't really matter which one's which. And paper second, we'll build. There we go. This is the second paper. This is my first-person shooter tutorial. And that's how you set up papers.